So, hi everybody. Today I'm going to do a bit of a tutorial on how to draw clothing because a few people have asked me. I only have a little webcam, so you're mostly going to be focused on my hands the whole time, so I hope it's not too uncomfortable to watch. So generally, how to draw clothing is not really complicated. I know a lot of artists make it look like it's this really intricate science, but it really isn't. First off, you sort of have to determine the body type and the shape and the position of the character you want to be drawing. So in this case, we're going to draw a character sort of like this, trying to grab something. Give her a bit of a belly here. And some nice big legs. There you go. So once you have the shape down, you can start putting in layers of flow, which would be clothing in here. So right now what we have is this here. We're basically going to add layers. So the first part is to get your shape down, and then to basically just clothe it. There's two different types of clothing. There would be tight and loose clothing. Loose clothing and tight clothing both follow the same rule, that they have to follow the shape of the body itself, but they actually react differently. Loose clothing, for instance, would basically sort of fall off the shoulders, like so, and then kind of just drop and drape the body. But you still have to follow the curves that are there. So, because she's slightly arced forward, the shirt that is very loose would sort of come back to her hip, like so. So the shirt falls slightly between the breasts, because the breasts are always a little separated, and is basically pulled by the shoulder. Let's say she's got very wide sleeves. The sleeves are going to fall until they reach the elbow, and then bend with the elbow itself. And not only does it follow the curves of the body, but it also follows gravity. So the shirt, because she's slightly arced forward, will actually fall forward. And the sleeve that is here is actually going to sort of loop down because of gravity. If you have tight clothing, so let's say we've got this girl here that has a very loose shirt, but is wearing very tight leggings. And she's got like that sort of this. You know, she's jumping around, she's happy. Again, as the same with the loose clothing, tight clothing follows the way the body bends, but to the contrary of floppy or loose clothing, which actually also has to follow gravity, tight clothing does not follow gravity rules at all, which I guess is why superheroes manage to say dress all the time. In this case of tight clothing, it's just going to follow the curves of the body and nothing else. So the leggings, let's say in here, and here she bends where the knee is, so we just add a bunch of folding lines there. And because there's always a bit of lines that sort of bunch up in the places where your body folds, because whenever you fold your body, the clothes has to stretch and unstretch with your movement, you can add a bit of bunching lines where the other knee is, but not quite as pronounced as the bent knee. You can also add some here where the legs meet and where the butt is, so little lines here, to basically show that the leggings sort of like bend here as well. And of course you can always add a bit of folds where the leggings end, because it usually sort of rolls up a bit. One of the best ways to really figure out how clothing works is to actually observe your own clothing when you wear it. Different types of clothing will actually react differently to the way they are worn, different materials as well. Let's say, for instance, materials that are more plastic-based will usually slide off skin, whereas wool will usually bunch up more. But generally, these are the rules you have to follow. So loose clothing, follow the bending of the body and the way gravity sort of pulls it down. And tight clothing, you can ignore gravity and mostly focus on the areas where stuff bends or stretches. Take another example, a different position, of somebody that's sort of standing like so, with the arms slightly behind. Like so. Here you've got a position that's different from this one, but that's going to follow the same rules. Because she's slightly towards, her back is slightly arched that way, the shirt is going to bend towards the back. And it's going to basically sort of fold here where her back starts to basically bend. Again, if it's a female, the breasts always influence the way the shirt is going to basically flow. Breasts get in the way, they actually really bunch up clothing, unless it's tight, of course. But usually if the character has a chest that is at least a little bit there, the chest will actually influence what the clothing is doing. You can also remember to basically give the clothing sort of this gap, because it's not always very tight on the body, for say like a hood. You can add gaps that basically don't follow the body. If you have extra clothes like a blanket or a hood or a cape, it's going to flow relatively independently from the character, but it's going to follow movement and gravity a lot. So let's say if this character is sort of walking around, had a handbag or a cape, the handbag would be following the movement. She's walking forward, the handbag's kind of stuck in the back following the flow. So basically there you have it. Loose clothes is following the way that people bend and the gravity. Tight clothes mostly follows the way people bend. And extra clothing, so capes, bags, jewelry, cloaks, hoodies, anything like that, usually just kind of follows the movement really. And that's pretty much it. So best of luck for everybody that tries. And as always, the best way to learn how to draw something is observation. So make sure to look at your clothes as much as you can. It's the best way to learn.